Are you looking for high quality merch items to give away or sell at your shows? Look no further. For just $33, and that includes shipping inside the US, I can make you 100 1-inch pinback buttons, perfect for your friends and fans' battle jackets, messenger bags, and guitar straps. Message me at Everything Remade on Instagram to get started. Hello, and welcome to Everything Remade, a podcast that I hope is about growth as much as it is about music. I'm Edie Quinn, and we have a great show lined up for you. Before we get started, though, I'd like to remind you that we have a Patreon page at patreon.com/humanmachine. For just $3, you can get signed up to read dozens of zines, get music sneak peeks, and all kinds of other fun stuff. That's patreon.com/humanmachine. And now, I'd like to play something for you. You're hearing Nailed by Quiet Fear, featuring my new pal, Christopher Tortoledo on guitar. Their set with Matt Sonera at New Friends Fest was absolutely mind-blowing. This is not the first time you've heard me say that, so I was so excited for this conversation.
So it definitely was Metallica for me because I started off as like a big thrash head, and it's all thanks to a childhood friend of mine. So yeah, when he presented me or showed me like the first Metallica record he was listening to at the time, he was just like, "Yo, check this out." And to me, I was like 9 or 10 years old. You know, we were just kids. So when I was hearing something so loud, I was like, "What is this? Like, what kind of instrument is? What's going on in this record?"
Uh-huh. What album
So
was it?
it was the Kill 'Em All record.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
I also heard Metallica the first time somewhere around that age, except I am probably a little bit older than you, and so I I was skateboarding already, and we were buying like Thrasher magazines, and
nice.
they were in this Thrasher magazine. There was a picture of the cover for Master of Puppets, and I didn't. I just saw that cover and I was like, "That's epic, right?" And
Yeah,
somehow we started listening to the songs. Like I already knew about like suicidal tendencies and stuff like that, so we already kind of were a little bit listening to similar stuff. But yeah, those those first couple LPs, like you can't mess with those for sure. They're classics for a reason.
yeah, yeah.
So how did you like can go from that to like convincing your folks to get a guitar, or were guitars around already like in your house? Like did anybody else play instruments or anything?
There wasn't no instruments in my house. I do come from a background where my uncles on my mom's side of the family, they're some of them were musicians at the time, and they played in a lot of like mariachis. So when I would visit in Mexico when I was young, there was a lot of instruments around. But I was born and raised here in Los Angeles, so my mom doesn't play anything. Neither does my dad. But my dad did listen to like a lot of music, a lot of disco, and a lot of kind of glam rock.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like already kind of exposed to like what rock and roll was, but never to metal. You know, my dad was never really too deep into it. So the way I got exposed to an instrument was because of my friend who showed me who Metallica was, and he started getting into playing the bass, and he started getting into the guitar. So when I would be over at his house, which I was all the time because we were literally neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would just play his instrument. He was the first one who got one, so that's how I was able to get my hands on one.
What was that looking for, like for you at that time? Like, um, were you able to like get online, or were you like looking through guitar magazines? Like, how were you accessing learning?
I'm self taught.
Uh
I didn't take any lessons, and I was only learning through my friend, who his name was Jonathan. It's funny because our vocalist's name is Jonathan as well, and I've
mhm,
known him. We've known each other like the same amount of time as I known my childhood friend Jonathan. Jonathan, our vocalist, counts as my childhood friend too because we went to middle school together since we were like in third grade. So, but the other Jonathan, who's not my vocalist, he was as he was learning, I was learning from him. Uh, but then, as you know, at the time there was the internet was you could barely do so much on the internet and look. Well, for me personally, I didn't know how to really look up information like that.
mhm,
But we would go walk to. We would just find music stores in our neighborhood. We would walk in, and then from there you could kind of. They would have the magazines. Like I
yeah,
remember picking up an Ibanez magazine from this a record, not record store, a music shop, and from there there's a whole catalog of all these instruments, all these electric guitars. At the time, I remember seeing in that magazine the I think it was the Offspring's. I don't know the vocalist, the guitar player. He had his signature guitar in that magazine. I was like, oh my god, like this looks insane. Like this doesn't look like the typical Stratocaster my friend John was playing. You know, like a Squire Stratocaster that we all started playing with.
yeah. It, D- Dexter Holland, is that
Dexter
the?
Holland,
Yeah,
yeah, he had.
I,
I know he had a signature Ibanez guitar.
yeah. I spoke to him on the phone once. It
Whoa,
was
sick!
yeah, it
How'd that
was
happen?
it was a long time ago, and I was just doing like it was not like he had just started that Nitro Records label, and I was doing this zine, and when we did our first issue, we sent like a bunch of the issues out, and we were just like, yeah, for $5 or whatever, you can put an ad in this zine. So we were trying to like get it to pay for itself because we're doing copies at Kinko's or whatever, and and like I think it was like just like got a phone call, and he was like, yeah, this is Dexter from Nitro Records. And like I had known at that time that that was his label, and I was like, oh, the Offspring dude. And he was like,
So random.
yeah. No, but he was like, I was obnoxious in that phone call, but he was like very just nice. And
Very cool.
yeah, it's just really one of those random things. Like I've had a couple of just like I've chatted with like very famous people on the phone randomly. Like California old heads might know that band Link 80, and
There.
yeah, their original vocalist was the son of that novelist Danielle Steele.
Okay.
And like that band was on a compilation that I did like in like 1994, and
Oh shoot.
and and I called the house one time looking for him, and she answered, and she's like, no, this is his mother. And I was like, I'm talking to like this famous, uh, like author, it's weird, but
Yeah, that's
yeah.
that's crazy.
Dexter Holland does not remember talking to me unless it's negative.
Yeah,
But
you should hit him up. Just be like,
yeah,
hey, do
remember
you
me?
remember we talked? Yeah, we talked on the phone once. You hit me up.
And yeah, and he'll be like, actually, I do, and I can't fucking stand you. Like I hated you then, and I can tell you that now because I'm a
No,
big
I
shot
hope
now.
not.
Nah, I bet it's not. I bet like, I mean, I bet especially like when all those like rockers and whatever last year started coming out and being transphobic and shit, and Noodles from Offspring was like, yo, fuck all you assholes. Like, I bet Offspring keeps it real. Cause like,
Yeah.
Noodles was one of the only ones that was like Alice Cooper needs to shut the fuck up and stop being a transphobe. So I was like, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
real.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, that's legit. I remember seeing that.
yeah, but yeah, that's awesome. Like, and you're just kind of whatever information you could glean from like like checking out these guitar magazines in the shop, and then just like absorbing like whatever your friend um was learning as well. Like, was your ear like pretty finely tuned for like, were you learning a lot just like by what you were hearing, or?
Yeah, I was. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I learned everything through ear, even now, up till now. Um, I never took I never took lessons. Um, and when I was getting started, I was just listening to the all the music I was listening to at the time, and I would just try to learn it by ear. So,
Mm-hmm.
I was listening to a lot of Metallica, and I would just listen to the power chords the best way I can, and I would just pick it up like that.
Yeah.
And I'm also a big visual learner. Like I need to, if I see it like right in person, I could like pick it up so fast, and I'll be like, oh, I remember it went like this, and I'll just like place my fingers like on the guitar and figure out the strumming patterns on my own and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This might be jumping ahead a little bit, but sometimes I think like it's interesting to hear about like, is there someone that came along at some point like that was, you didn't realize it was such an influence on your playing at the time, but now you're like, oh shit, like I have this really weird influence that sticks out like a sore thumb, like once you know about it? Was there any like player that maybe they don't even play the same kind of stuff that you write, but you're like, I could tell I was definitely influenced by this?
yeah, definitely. And I don't think a lot of people know this band, and it's actually one of my very top favorite bands ever and musician. As the guitar player in that band, and the band's called Lower Definition.
Okay.
Uh, and the guitar player's name was his name is Eddie Washburn. I believe it's Washburn. I've met him a couple times. I know for a fact he does not remember me, but I would go to all the shows they would play back in the day, and they were like a post-hardcore screamo-y band, and yeah, I mean, I was already playing guitar at the time. During that whole time, my, you know, I've already gotten better from, we did skip ahead, but I've already
For
gotten like
sure.
better how to play the guitar. But when I first heard that band, I was just like, damn, like, what are these riffs? Like, how does it make, why does it sound like that? Like, and that's when I started kind of just trying to copy his playing style, and then from there I kind of just turned it into my own. But I know for a fact that when I write something, it's always influenced by the guitar player of Lower Definition.
Yeah.
um yeah, amazing band. I love them to this day, and I still listen to them daily, just to be like, damn, this record's like amazing, all
Yeah.
of their stuff.
Was that just like it was a band that was local to you so you could catch them all the time?
They were from San Diego,
Okay.
so somewhat local. But they would tour a lot at the time and always be in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm. Was
So
that
every time they would announce they would be out here, I would just go and catch them as many times as I can.
was that the first time when you were really going and seeing like those kinds of shows and stuff, or did you get into that like sort of right away?
I used to go to a lot of like backyard shows.
Uh-huh.
So there was like the scene, and I grew up in East LA, Boyle Heights area,
Mm-hmm.
and the local scene there was just like a lot of thrash and metal. So I was already going to a lot of like gigs that that were just mainly backyard shows. But once I got out of, I mean, not that I got out of it, I just kind of grew into, I just started listening to more different types of music, like
Mm-hmm.
post-hardcore, screamo, and stuff like that. And at the time when I was going to to backyard shows, it was mainly just metal and thrash, and all the people I would hang around with would only like to listen to that. So I kind of drifted on my own and explored all these new genres that they didn't want to listen to and they didn't like, but I liked it. So I was just like, well, I'm gonna go this way for a bit, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's weird uh, how polarizing that can be. Like the music can be so similar, but the way that the vocals might be from one thing to the next, like it puts this, um, it puts this like division between like people that want to listen. Like, like there was a lot of there was a lot of people that like from one band, when I would be interested in like stuff like that was heavier to when I started like playing like screamo stuff, and it's like, oh, that's all just whining or whatever,
Right.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
that difference was so polarizing to people. They couldn't see how the music was like so derivative of one another. They were so similar.
Yeah. At the
Yeah.
time, well, when I was growing up, either you listen to thrash metal, death metal, and that's it. And anything else is kind of just like, this isn't real heavy music, you know?
Yeah.
So for me, it was around 2007 to 2009. Um, I was already kind of exploring like early Touche Amore and La Dispute. Um, those, pianos become the teeth, stuff like that.
Hmm.
And I wanted to listen to more of that stuff. So from there, it kind of, it just opens the door to more screamo, hardcore, post-hardcore bands. So
Yeah.
that's that's kind of the route I kind of stuck to. Even though I listen to a lot of more types of all different kinds of genres. It's kind of like the main thing we're doing right now. So
Yeah. Yeah. Were you trying to play in bands pretty much immediately? Like, were you and your friends trying to start bands like as soon as you picked up your instrument, or did you have a period where you're, you know, trying to? Did you think you had to be ready?
no, I do remember trying to just gather, a little group of friends who knew how to play an instrument, and we would just kind of jam in my house. Once I found other people that were like, "Oh, I play bass, oh, I play drums too." And then, do you have a drum set? I was like, "Yeah," but I can't play in my house. I was like, "Oh, you could bring it over to my house," So we would kind of do that and just mess around, kind of not really try to put songs together, but kind of just play cover songs. Like, "Oh, do you like this band or do you like this song? Maybe we should try learning it together," and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I was about a sophomore, I kind of started being not serious, but I'd be like, oh, I'm kind of trying to be more original, like actually write our own music and not do cover songs and stuff like that.
Yeah. Did something happen that broke that barrier for where you're like just trying to play other people's songs to where you were like, wait, like I could write a song.
Yeah, it just came where, at one point I was just learning songs, and one day I just woke up and I was just kind of messing around with the guitar without playing, like learning anything. I wasn't, I usually would get up and just keep playing what I learned the night before or something. And I don't know, just one day I was just kind of writing my own riff and I was like, oh, this kind of sounds like this song, but it's not that song. It's my own riff. So I was kind of just trying to piece it together and I was like, oh, well, I have these ideas that I'm kind of messing around with, and that kind of helps talk to other people and be like, hey, I have some riffs. Do you think you could play over it? I know you play bass. Do you think you do a bass line over it? Maybe we could get so and so to listen to it and see if they could write their drum part over it and stuff like that.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
from there on, it just kind of kind of pieces itself together.
Yeah. What was the first time you ever played a show? What was that like?
The first time I ever played a show was a backyard. gig in East LA, and it was with my metal band, and I don't remember the name. I don't remember our name at all. But it was our first show ever. Um, we were not ready, so whatever. We show up to the gig. There's all these kids, you know. I mean, we were kids too, but it was just packed. Everybody's kind of drinking like 40-ounce, 40-ounce beers because that's like the normal over here.
Uh-huh.
That's the norm to do. And I just remember setting up and we were playing. Everyone was just kind of just already like messed up and like just having a good time. And everybody's like, "Oh man, you guys were pretty good." And I was like, "Oh, that was like the first time anybody ever has even like complimented just me playing anything, just because I was just so used to playing at home and doing covers or playing with my friends at home, practicing. So that for me was kind of like, oh man, like this is awesome. I want to keep doing this. Not only keep doing this, I want to keep getting better to the point where there's more people here and stuff like that. So that was kind of like the point for me that I decided. I was like, oh man, I'm gonna keep trying to do this.
Yeah. Yeah, you can. It's wild how like when you are playing music, it's you get in front of people and 20 minutes or 30 minutes goes by in the blink of an eye, but then it's like that rush, like I got to do this again, like as soon as I can. Like
Yeah, for me, it's always also when you're playing up there, it kind of feels like you're up there forever, but you're only playing like a 15-minute set, 15, 20 minutes. They do go by so fast, but sometimes for me, when I'm up there, I was just like, oh man, this is taking forever.
is that like, do you feel like you sort of weave in and out of those moments, you're like sort of like, oh, what song, like, oh, we're on the seventh song of the set, and you're like, oh, I feel kind of tired, or like how do you like realize like where you're at? It's like I'm always like I'm going and I don't realize what's happening until we have to stop or something.
Okay, nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I
That's like
don't.
to me it's always just like every time, like right now, every time we hit like the fourth or fifth song, that's when I'm like, oh man, like I've been up here for a minute, These
Yeah.
songs are like 3 minutes long. I think our longest song is like almost 4 minutes. So yeah, once we're in our fourth, close to fifth, I was like, damn, our songs actually this long? I was like, nah, no way. Are we playing too slow
Are
that
people
it feels
feeling
this
this?
long?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I used to like in one of my older bands, I still like to put the microphone down kind of low for different reasons, but I used to like have to put it down really low and face, like I'll look straight at the stage because like for a couple reasons. Like number one, because like I spit so much when I do vocals, it was like I don't want to just hose people down. And then number
Yeah.
two, because like, do you ever
That's very nice of you.
thank you. Um, it's the least I could do. Do you ever like you're playing, you're in the set, like you're in your own world, and you just like make eye contact with somebody, and you're like, "What am I doing?" Like you,
Yes.
like
Oh my God. I hate that.
yeah,
I hate that feeling so much.
like
It's just like, oh no, we made eye contact. Oh, they saw me. They're
like
looking at me playing.
where yeah, I would lose everything. I'd be like, where, like what was I singing, which note was I supposed to be on? I'd be like, oh, and so I had to and now I can't see that well anymore, so that's that's
So
that's
that helps.
yeah, that's like the only plus for that is like, yeah, I take my glasses off, I put them in the thing, and then I can't see that well. So if you're making eye contact with me, if you think we shared a moment, like we definitely did, but I didn't see you.
But I didn't see you, yeah.
Los retos quiebran el silencio. La sangre hierve en el cuerpo. La tierra vibra del movimiento.
Yeah, my thing is when I'm playing, I don't ever really look at the crowd just because for that reason, I don't want to make eye contact with anybody. And if I've been trying lately to kind of, we always face our drummer, or we're kind of like a little sideways and not ever facing forward. But lately, we've kind of been trying to, my bass player and Adrian, I tell him, yo, we gotta stop facing backwards and just kind of face forward, just so everybody could kind of look at us and feel more engaged instead of
Mm-hmm.
them thinking like we're giving them our backs.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we've been trying to do that, but we always kind of end up shifting back, and then we're like, "Oh shoot, we gotta turn around." And then we start turning around. But I never ever look up I never stare down like the people just because I do get nervous. So, and if I ever do look up, it's like I have to focus on something. Like I look up and like, okay, there's a big old light bulb over there. I'm gonna stare at that for a second. So it looks like I'm staring like out there. And I'm like, okay, cool. Let me switch to something else, and then I'll try to look for the next object or something.
Yeah. You're having
Yeah,
like
then
a
I'll
very
just
you're having a very like poetic moment, you're like
yeah,
contemplating the universe and stuff, but it's like really just like I can't lock eyes with somebody. It'll screw my whole concentration up. Yeah, I feel that for sure. Um yeah, I don't know, it's wild like that I mean, when people first started doing this in the late 90s and whatever, the turning the backs to the crowd, I mean, that was like just the thing. So I feel like no one necessarily thinks, oh, this band isn't being very engaging. They just think like,
yeah,
oh, this is a trope of the genre, for
yeah.
bands
It
to
comes
do
with
that.
it.
Yeah, yeah. But you do, yeah, you want to, like, you're, a lot of times people are like, okay, come up to the front, come up to the front. And then they just turn around. You're like, what did we come up here for,
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, but yeah. So I don't know exactly when Quiet Fear started, but your first release was in 2016.
It was. Yeah, that was our when we dropped our first EP.
So it's 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 wild like that when you listen to a band that's been around for it's like about 8 years now, right? It's wild that you listen to the first thing and it sounds like you released it like last month. Like it's on a par to me as a listener. Like as a songwriter, you might be like, well, those songs aren't up to what we do now. And that's like, that's your own interpretation and stuff. But like from a listener perspective, it's like the the first EP sounds as good as
Oh
your
man,
split
wow,
with
thank you.
Masanera. Like it sounds fucking great, and it sounds like a there's not a clear point like there is with a lot of bands where it's like, oh, this is where they got to where they are now, and you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, yeah, for
so
sure.
were you all playing like in different bands before Quiet Fear, like together, to where you like automatically gelled on this project, or was it some part about like, you mentioned that you and the vocalist like knew each other for a while. Like when this band got together, what was that like, and how was it that you all just like gelled immediately like that?
It's definitely been a long journey for Quiet Fear, especially with members. Um, so it's Jonathan and I are the only original start, like from the very beginning. The original members
Mm-hmm.
of Quiet Fear, and him and I used to be in a band before we started Quiet Fear. So it used to be called Cast Form, and we that was kind of my first. that was kind of our first band that we kind of took really, really serious. It was the first band where we actually toured like out of Los Angeles, out of like California. And unfortunately, the band just kind of came to an end. But as that band was ending, I had that first Quiet Fear EP. All those songs were supposed to be the new Cast Form record, the new EP.
Mm-hmm.
So but it already sounded completely different. So if Cash Form would have continued going, it would kind of turn into what Quiet Fear is today, or maybe not, because you never know.
Right.
But those songs were supposed to be for that old band we were in. But once Cash Form ended, Jonathan was kind of like, "Well, what do you guys want to do?" More like, "What do I want to do?" Because it was just him and me. And I was like, "Well, we could try to put another band together and use like these 6 songs. Oh, I think there's 7 songs in that EP. I don't know.
I
I
I
believe
th-
it's 7.
I wrote down 6. I could be wrong.
No, I think you're right. It's 6 songs.
I
So
think the first 2 were both 6, right?
yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
6 songs. So I was just trying, like, all right, let me see if I could find a drummer and a bass player to get started. And then we were able to find the drummer and bass player. We showed them the songs. They learned them really quick, and uh, and then we got to record that EP pretty quick. And we actually recorded that EP at the drummer's house at the time. He had his own studio, so we all did it ourselves in a garage.
Wow.
And from there on, it's just kind of we've been trying really hard. We haven't stopped. Of course, like every other band, we reach a point where it's kind of like, man, this is so hard. Nobody's really listening. Um, so it's kind of it just kind of doesn't motivate you sometimes to be, even though we all love playing, but it's kind of like how many more times can we play, and like there will be absolutely nobody at the show.
Mm-hmm.
Like you just feel kind of stuck at that spot.
Yeah. Is that is that sort of typical for the area where it's just like because there's shows like happening all the time, or is that
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we
yeah?
always have this conversation where it's just like, not only is it cool living in LA because there's so many shows happening all the time, Monday through Sunday. There's always shows, but if your show isn't the show, then nobody's gonna come to the show. Nobody's gonna know who your band is. And at the time when we were like just starting the band, it was already hard enough. Like we feel like the screamo post-hardcore scene wasn't really popular. It was kind of more of like the people who know.
Mm-hmm.
So it was already hard to kind of promote shows, or if you weren't already a big band on the bill, then if you weren't playing that show, then people weren't gonna find out about you.
Yeah, it's. I mean, that's the catch-22 of like, there's a lot going on, right? Is it's like there's a lot going on. That's cool because you have all these options, but when especially you're playing like a genre that like already has sort of a limited like user interface, like I don't
Yeah,
know, that's the
yeah,
wrong word,
yeah,
but
for sure.
like fan base, it's like you're you're competing with all these other shows and you have the smallest like listener capacity.
Yeah,
It's tough. And
I
also
always like to say too that screamo isn't like the number one top favorite genre for everybody, so it's not easy listening. I like to say easy listening because there's other music that's more popular that was coming up at the time that was more local, but it's more easy to listen to that type of music than to listen to what we're playing.
mhm. Yeah, and you know, you all started right in that, like, there definitely was, uh, we started in 2010, and there was a whole big, long period of time where it was just like we people did not care. They didn't want to hear what, they want like people finger tapping on guitars and, and this and that. And like, it wasn't until, I don't know, 2018 or, somewhere around there where people started being like, hey, wait, there's like, this stuff is still around, and it wasn't just the bands from 1998 that people cared
Yeah.
about. People realized there's really cool stuff still happening and everything like that. So yeah, it's like impossible for some people to like imagine like that there wasn't a Dilly Dally Fest, that there wasn't a New Friends Fest or a Zekima Beach Records Fest, like every summer. It's like, no, it just kind of, there were fests and they weren't like, they were
Yeah,
cool, but
it's
they weren't
always
like
been there.
that. Yeah, yeah. But yeah. So do you feel like that's the reason why you've had this symmetry is because like, I mean, I'm assuming that you're the sort of the primary songwriter then,
Yeah,
and so that's like the real, like that's the consistency that I'm hearing in all the recordings and stuff is that like sort of driving influence.
yeah, that's definitely me in there.
Yeah.
um, I just never stopped writing. I just kept writing, and you know, Jonathan and I love music, and I know he loves it with a passion too. If not, he wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's just listening to all the music we grew up with, seeing all the bands we love, going to shows, seeing them put so much energy and what they love to do is just kind of what drives us and be like, wow, like we want to keep doing that too. We want to do that, we want to be up there too.
Yeah.
And not just for like, oh man, I want to play a big show and, you know, like be big and stuff like that. It's just like I want people to listen to all of like all of our art,
Hmm.
and I want them to tell us like, yo, this sucks, or yo, this is really, really good.
Yeah. Well,
Um, I,
yeah, I didn't hear anything that sucked. Sorry. I'll listen harder. I'll listen harder. I will pick one song that I like the least, and I'll come back.
okay, cool, yeah.
I'm like, you know what? That one bridge, uh,
Yeah, that
it
one
was a little
sucks. Don't
slow.
play that one.
Yeah. It was slow. That's probably the one that you're thinking is slow when you're up there. But no, I've said it a couple times on the show at this point with just whoever I'm chatting with about New Friends Fest, and I mean, I didn't get to chat with any of y'all at the show, but I when you and Masanera were playing that one song together, where you're all playing the song together, and everyone is doing the vocals, and even Blake from Page 99 came out and joined y'all. I literally started crying. Like I was not moved by any performance that day like I was then. I looked up at the stage and I saw just the reason why I am still doing this. Like I was like, this is everything in the world right here. This is it. This is like people on the stage playing their songs with passion and camaraderie, and just like this is everything, and it meant so much to me. And you're the first, you're the first
That,
person.
that that means a lot to me. That means a lot to all of us. I can speak
Yeah.
for all of us that it means everything to us.
Yeah. It was
When we were up there too, it was like surreal. Like we were on cloud nine or something. It
yeah.
was just like, it was just really happening. You know, it was just awesome. It was like an experience that all of us in bands have, experienced at one point that makes us want to keep doing it. Like, wow, like this is like the best show I've ever played, even though there's like 5 people in there. But we killed it at this set. Like this set was like perfect tonight. You know,
Hmm.
um, like yeah, it was a it was just amazing.
Yeah. And
There's no.
the split wasn't quite out yet. So I was that the was that the last song from the split that y'all were playing
That
together?
was the last song. Yeah.
Okay, I thought so, but like I said, it wasn't out yet, so I didn't have that frame of reference. Um, one one other song from the split that really sticks out for me, and I don't want to. I hope this isn't like offensive or whatever, but Presidio.
Yeah, you got
There's
it right.
there's the part in the end. Now, I mean no shade by this. I personally have tried to do this a number of times. But the end of that song is like I was like, this is them saying we're gonna write our own "This Is My Tiger Suit."
Yeah,
Is
I
that is
I
that
love Rain. Yeah,
is that
so
sort of like when you hit that and you start doing that and you're like, holy shit, like we did it? Or
it's
was
funny.
that not? Does that only make sense now?
When we wrote that song, I for sure wanted it to be that vibe.
Yeah.
I wanted it to be like our own version of that, and I mean, it hasn't happened yet where like it's been picked up and everybody knows the lyric
Oh, I'd lose
and
my mind if I saw that at a show now. Now that I know the
yeah.
song. Yeah. Yeah.
But that's like, that's what we want. We want people to love the song and to just kind of, you know, chant with us when we ever play it live and connect to it the way they do is if they were listening to Tiger Suit or another song that reminds them of that song and just
Yeah.
kind of like, oh my God, they're playing this song. I know the lyrics at the end of it and I want to just go up there and grab the mic and just go all out.
Yeah. That song, I
So
mean, that song's bonkers. Like it gets there for sure. It's incredible.
I am a fortress. You will teach me. I will not be taught down. I am a fortress. You will not teach me. I will not be taught down. I am a fortress. You will not teach me. I will not be taught down. I am a fortress. You will not teach me. I will not be taught down. I am a fortress. You will not teach me. I will not be torn down. I am a fortress. You will not teach me. I will not be torn down. I am a fortress. You will not teach me. I will not be torn down. I am a fortress. I will not be torn down. I am a fortress.
Yeah, it's like I said, like I had no reference for any of those songs when I saw y'all play. So there's that. But like after it being out, and it's just like, yeah, I really hope that we get to play a show together again at some point. But because yeah, I mean, I'll be up on the stage. I'll be ready.
hell yeah.
But yeah, you know, there's a lot. There's obviously a lot about that split that's very special. But why don't you talk about like not just like how it came to be that you decided to do it, but I mean I'd like to hear about that as well. But like some of the details as far as like it really feels like, I mean, this is what we had in mind when we did our split with Snag. Like we wanted to be able to send each other songs back and forth and have them influence each other, but stuff just didn't work out. Now, how much of that were y'all able to do? Were you like, this is one of our songs? Like, were you sending things back and forth? Were you trying
Yeah.
to make it as like cohesive and a collective effort like that?
Yeah, that's exactly how it went down. It took us the first time we ever did a tour with Masanera was when they came over here to the West Coast, and since the beginning of that tour, they were like, "Yo, we should work on a split together for maybe sometime in the next year and a half or something." And we were like, "Yeah, let's do it." And even during that tour, we were already like talking ideas. I'm like, "Oh, it should be like this, or we should try this and that. We should like send each other songs, or do you guys have any ideas already right now?" So it started off really early. Um, but once that tour ended, they got back home. Chris from Masanera would just be sending me like, "Yo, what do you think of this riff? Check out this riff." And I'll listen to him like, "Oh man, it sounds good." And the first riff he ever sent me was the last song on that split, which is the collab track called Nueva Llama.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, Chris and I would just be working on that back and forth. And we're like, "Oh, what if I'm gonna add this to it? And what do you think of this riff? And this and that." And we would just kind of be piecing it together. Um, and I know Masanera kind of was like really ahead of the game because they were just writing, banging out songs like crazy. And he was sending to me like, "Yo, we finished our track. How are you guys doing with your track? Can you guys send us like a little sneak preview or something?" And I was like, "Oh man, we're like, I'm still like trying to put it together, but here's this riff or here's this and that."
Mm-hmm.
And it was just literally back and forth sending all these ideas to each other. And that kind of like pushed us even it pushed us to finish our songs to send to them so they could check it out, and then just to see how like, oh, this song could go after this song because it goes with this one. And we were trying our best, and we put our all into the split just so it could like flow the best way it can.
Mm-hmm. Who played like what on the last track? Was it sort of like it was all written together, but then for production's sake, like certain things had to happen, or
We all recorded on that track.
oh, okay, like so
Yeah,
it's like
so
two sets of drums and just the whole thing.
yeah, the whole thing.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
I have
so there's
to listen to that more
yeah,
closely.
that last song, Mark from Asanera is drumming on it, and then our drummer Chris, he's drumming in it. Adrian's playing bass, AJ's on bass, um, Chris and I are on guitar, and the vocals is just Jonathan. And until the last part, I believe everybody in Masanera ended up like throwing some gang vocals in there to add it to make it more full.
Oh okay,
But like we're all on that track, like we all recorded.
that's wild. Yeah, it all like the whole record flows so well. Like it doesn't. There's not a break where you're like this sounds different. Like it's mixed and produced like so well as an album that like I just thought, oh yeah, like this last track doesn't sound like sonically more busy or anything, it's just like really consistent with the rest of the album, like except that it just is feels like the culmination of all the previous ideas in that way that it's probably supposed to.
Yeah, that's something we really wanted to be, or that we really wanted from the split, is to try it, make it flow the best way we can, where just the songs complement each other, and it feels like a whole record, not like, oh, just the first three songs is this, and the first three songs is this other band, and that's it.
Yeah. Is
So that's why we kind of worked really hard to make it flow the best way we can and be an actual record for people to listen to and not have to skip a song or something.
yeah. Is that why is that like why the track order is the way it is, where it's like one song and then the other band and then one song? Like did you want that to feel like a battle set like you had been doing?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's also, why we did that, kind of to give it that battle set feels like, oh, when we played it, when we've done the battle sets, we've played them the exact same way it is on the record. So it starts with Bloated from Masanera, and then we go into our song, which is Entre las Manos, and so on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a really awesome, like, and severely underutilized, like, idea, to just like have the split where it's like, because like, one thing that it probably doesn't happen with us, because like usually the other band on our split is better than us, so like we don't have to worry about that. But like, one thing that I just never wanted to you never want it to be like, because you have your friends that are like, they come to see your band and you're playing with your friends' bands, and some of your friends, sometimes you got to be like, no, you have to check out the other band too. Don't just like watch us and leave or whatever, right? And there's sort
Right.
of that same mentality sometimes with like a split where it's like, you're like, you got to check out the other band. The other band's like so good, and that's like a way that it's like, no, like, if you do every other song, like, that's so cool, like, you're gonna listen to the other band, and
You're
then,
right.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you're gonna, like, you're gonna end up liking it, like it's, um but yeah, I really like that. I think I really, I think Funeral Diner did that on one of their splits. I think their split with the band Evalock, I think, is like that. I can't.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I
Yeah.
remember that. I remember that
But
split.
it has those. Is that the one that, I don't know? Maybe I'm thinking about this wrong, but I thought there was one that has like weird like locks in the grooves or something. But maybe that's a different band. Maybe it's not. Um, but yeah, I really appreciated that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you
But
for just like even listening and listening to the whole record. Even if it was just one song, like it means a lot to us.
no, like I said. I mean, I spent some time like going through the catalog, and I really stand by what I said. Like, I think that anybody that hears the newest thing that y'all did will go back and listen to the very first EP and be like, "Holy shit!" Like, this band has always had it, and that's really, I think it's rare, but it's awesome. Um, but yeah, like the split with Massanera, like, just came out in January, but
Right.
we know that like the way that it takes a long time to get records pressed and stuff, that like there's, y'all are probably already like working on the next thing. Like, what's sort of next for you as far as like your plans for future releases? Is there anything that you can talk about that's in the works, or?
Yeah, we're finishing writing our second LP. So that's our next goal. We're just like finishing the final touches on like the songs, going over them to see if like this is the way we like it. And after that, we're gonna just start booking studio time. And we don't think it will be out this year, just because we're so busy with like all these festivals and all these tours we got coming up.
Mm-hmm.
But we will definitely have it done and recorded by this year. But we do plan on releasing it early next year. But yeah, we're gonna drop our second LP. Our first ever LP is the one we released in 2020. It's our pandemic record. And so we kind of feel like time has passed, and we have all these new songs that we've been kind of. It's always like that for every band. I think you have new songs that are the newest, but they're kind of old, and you just kind of want to record them already and put them out.
Yeah.
So they're gonna be new to everybody, but to us, we've kind of been having them for like a while.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. And yeah, I'm excited to hear what that's like. I mean, like I said, I mean, the split with Manzanera really does feel like a whole full record. Um, and that's what you set out to do. So y'all really like nailed that. Um, but yeah, it is wild how it's like you can get to that point where you've had these other ideas that maybe never clicked, and then they finally click. But then there's also a song you wrote like literally yesterday, and sometimes in just some weird way they fit together in a perfect way. And yeah, I don't know. I'm real stoked to hear y'all do next. You mentioned like that you've been playing a lot, and that there's like a bunch of festivals that you're playing coming up. What all festivals are you talking about specifically?
Well, we announced the what's that festival called? Dark Days in Richmond, Virginia.
Oh yeah.
So we're doing that in September. We have California Kicks in July, which is in Oakland, with Jerome's Dream, Capsule, Droughts playing.
Hmm.
There's so many.
The names of our friends.
Yeah, the name.
Uh huh.
Yeah, that's gonna be insane.
Yeah.
So many good bands on that festival. We have two more other festivals that we haven't announced yet because we haven't been allowed to yet, but we're
Okay.
on them. One of them's for October, which is something we've been doing every October. We skipped a few, but we're trying to like make it a tradition to keep doing that festival in October.
Okay.
We also have our South America tour in June, so that's gonna be like a whole month of touring South America.
Wow. So you've got like most of the summer, and then starting in like fall, and yeah. I mean, you're gonna have to fit the recording in there somewhere somehow, but
Yeah,
yeah, it's awesome to, you were talking before, like you briefly mentioned that there's been member changes, and that there's sometimes when it's like, you know sometimes it's hard to feel like people are paying attention, but at this point, are you do you feel like everybody is like, y'all are all unified on this and sort of like ready to go, and so this is like the new era of Quiet Fear, as it were?
yeah, for sure. I feel like we've been so busy the past year and this year because we were just finally able to lock in, um, our lineup. You know,
Yeah.
we were at the point where it's just like, oh, this is it. Like this is Quiet Fear now. Finally, uh, throughout the years we've had different bass players and drummers,
Hmm.
and they've all been friends of ours that we've known personally that have been doing us the favor, and we're extremely grateful for that, for them, that they even wanted to do it in the first place and go on tour with us and just experience that with us.
Hmm.
But there's always been that, like, well, once we come back from this, um we're gonna have to like figure out who else is gonna jump in on this,
Right.
or who's going to do this and that. And it also made like the writing process really hard because it's just like we can't just write something new with so and so because they're not going to play with us no more.
Yeah.
So um, this is also why we kind of want to, even though we're busy, we're really focused on making time to record the new record this year and just kind of like have it ready to be released early next year.
Yeah.
But
That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, well, that's awesome, and like I said, I'm really looking forward to that. I hope y'all have the best time at all your shows. Is there anything else that we should chat about before we wrap it up, or would you just want to tell people where they can follow you and keep up to date on everything?
I think our main source is just Instagram. I try to put everything on there as best as I can. There's a link tree there, all that good stuff, all the Spotify, all the shows we have coming up, all the tickets to the festivals that we've announced are on there. Um, and I think that's it. I mean, we're really grateful to where we are right now, thanks to everybody who's listened to the new record, which is the Split, of course, and the feedback has been just over the top. Like we would have never expected like such a reaction, even if it was bad. We would be happy if it was like just got blown up and been like, this Split is the worst ever. We would have been like, hell yeah, like at least people are listening to it.
And that was my conversation with Christopher Tortoledo. Thank you so much, Christopher, for taking the time to chat with me. Thanks to all of y'all for listening as well, wherever you are. Until next time, take care and do good things.